Hey, what's up race fans? This is Mike Higley from Prime Racing Products and I'm doing a thank you video. Mike Kraft, I want to say thank you very much for all of the videos that CheeseWorks puts out throughout the summer. I love catching up on the racing that you see throughout the country, especially through the heartland and the Midwest. Mike came to me with an idea a year ago to talk about race cars and suspension, primarily focusing them for our race fans and entry-level racers. You hear about bar adjustments, shocks, springs, tires, and I want to break that down on an entry-level basis. So this is my shot at it. 5-minute videos, one talking about rear suspension, one talking about front suspension, then we'll talk about shocks and springs and tires. My goal is just to provide a super high-level understanding of what we're doing in the pits, from hot laps to the heat race to the feature, as the racetrack's changing conditions. The first thing I need to do and apologize is probably to Colton Stevens. Colton, thank you for letting me use your race car even though I haven't asked you about it yet. Colton had his car at Prime Racing Products getting a body, deck, and interior put on it, and I'm going to use it to talk about B-Mod rear suspension. Taking a look at the right rear, we are going to just focus on B-Mods while the A-Mods adjustments would be similar. The first thing we're going to look at is bar angle as well as bar length. We can take this bar and we can move it up into higher holes or lower into the bottom holes to tighten or loosen the race car. Early in the night, we'll typically start with our bar up high. That will make this tire work really hard. It will make the car turn. It will be very loose or free. As the racetrack slicks off, we want to tighten the car up, so we'll start to move this bar down. By moving in this bar down to the lower holes, we're going to tighten the car up. It will allow us to make traction on racetracks that are lacking traction as they start to slick off. The other adjustment we can make is the length of this bar. So the length of this bar, now number one, there are rules that say how long this bar has to be depending on the sanctioning body, as well as the wheelbase has to be a certain length. If you picture a solo cup rolling around a table, it has one big side and one small side, it helps it turn. We do the same thing on our race cars. The right sides of the cars are longer than the left sides, that helps them turn. By taking this bar and adding length to it, we'll push the right rear tire back. Pushing the right rear tire back makes this side longer, makes the car turn better. We can also shorten this bar. By shortening this bar, we bring the right rear tire forward. Bringing that right rear tire forward will tighten the car up, both into and off of the corner, making it tighter. And that will allow us to add traction as the track slicks off. Okay, now let's take a look at the left rear suspension. We talked about on the right rear how moving that bar up or down can affect the car tight or loose on entry and on exit. Our left rear bar does the exact same thing, but it's primarily used to make adjustments just on throttle. While moving the bar will affect it going into the corner, the biggest thing I feel as a race car driver with the left rear bar is as I move this bar up or down, right here on this spot on the chassis, it will add or take away traction. As you can see, Colton's got his bar right now in the top hole. I would guess that's probably because the last time he drove it, it was on a very slick racetrack. So in the mud, like we talked about on the right rear, we'll move the bar up to free it up. In the mud on the left rear, we will move that bar down. So by coming down to one of the lower holes, we can free the car up because this bar won't have as much angle. It won't apply the left rear tire nearly as hard on throttle. Move the bar up, vice versa, and then we'll tighten the car up as you press the gas pedal down. Same adjustment with the length. Picture that solo cup rolling around the table. If we lengthen that bar, it will lengthen the left side wheelbase and tighten the car up. If we shorten that bar, it'll make that skinny side shorter, which will make the cup turn easier and easier. Lastly, we're going to talk about the J-bar and the adjustment that can be made on the J-bar. The J-bar is the device that attaches the rear end and holds it left to right inside the race car. We can move that down or up inside the car, both on the pinion side, that's what we call here where the drive shaft attaches, or on the chassis side, which we're going to take a look at in a second. When you see that car really roll over hard on the right rear and really hunker down and put that right rear tire down in the ground, by moving that way down, it moves our roll center down in the car and applies a lot of pressure onto the right rear tire. So as the track slicks off, that's one of my favorite adjustments, is to move that bar down on the pinion side. It'll apply the right rear tire as I get into the corner. We're now looking at the chassis side mount. This is the J-bar that runs down onto the front side of the pinion. This chassis side mount, as we move it up and down, can apply or remove traction. The chassis side mount we don't move as much, but as we want to apply traction on exit, or what you hear a lot of drivers call drive, we can move this bar down. It moves the roll center down in the car a little bit. It does flatten the bar out some, but the biggest thing that it does is applies that left rear tire on traction, makes a lot of speed as that track really starts to slick off. All right, if you're still hanging out there, we're about 5 minutes in and we've talked about a little bit of rear suspension. In the next video, we're gonna move up to the front, talk about camber, caster, toe, in and out, some of the things that we do on the front end of our cars to try to add speed, get good control in the steering wheel, and move to the front of the pack. Thanks, guys.